Well, that sucked. Talk about a big letdown for such a great season. Michigan got gut punched at the beginning of that game, and then we got to watch them get slapped around for 4 quarters.
Ah,
Well, this is the first time that we've had to cover a loss here on the video episode, so I guess we'll get right into it. Basically, looking back at things, I would say that there are three main areas that contributed most to Michigan's loss. But before getting into all of that, first, credit to TCU. They won that game. They came prepared, they were mentally set, and they took down Michigan. You can say what you want about all the things that went wrong and were absolute crap in the game, like that overturned touchdown. But honestly, even after that call, Michigan still should have punched it in. And they had plenty of opportunities to get back in that game, being down only 3 points in the fourth quarter. But as I said, credit to TCU and their coaching staff. They did what they needed to do. They played their football and they took down the Wolverines in the college football playoff semifinal. So, topic number one on what contributed most to Michigan's loss. In my opinion, the first thing that has to be talked about is coaching decisions. Joel Klatt, who I believe is one of the best analysts for college football, stated earlier in the week that Michigan needed to play Michigan football, that they needed to keep their identity, that they needed to go in, not be intimidated, and bully TCU around. I think he may have even said, don't get cute and don't change anything. But what did Michigan do? They decided to get cute and change things. Now, why, when it has worked for 13 games already this season, did they feel the need to all of a sudden do something different for the college football playoff? I have no idea. But that's what they decided to do when they got into the red zone on their first possession. And instead of trying to punch it into the end zone, they got fancy with their play and then gave TCU extra field position instead of pinning them deep in their own territory, pinning them on like, what was it, the 1 or the 2 yard line. So bizarre calls, poor decision making, and honestly, that set the tone for the game right there. And TCU capitalized on it and never looked back. So then the second main contributing factor to Michigan's loss was, well, I mean, not to pin it on one person, but JJ McCarthy's performance. Now, before we talk about what went wrong, let's talk about what did go right for JJ McCarthy and the offense. After almost a full season of the Michigan offense focusing on the run, JJ McCarthy in the past few weeks really came to light with his passing game and answered the call when Michigan needed him, even with his mistakes. Because even in this game, he still put up 343 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. He also wound up running for over 50 yards and another touchdown. But talking about the offense stepping up, Ronnie Bell did a fantastic job. 6 receptions, 135 yards, and a touchdown. Roman Wilson did not quit either. 5 receptions, 104 yards, and a touchdown. And then even though there were the struggles, the running game was still there as Donovan Edwards put up 119 yards with 23 carries. So even with the struggles for this team, this offense did not quit. They kept going. They had a slight chance of maybe doing something there at the end, and they kept themselves in this, and they gave themselves that opportunity. So want to give them that credit for sure. The issue with JJ McCarthy really comes down to his 2 interceptions that turned into pick sixes. That was devastating for this team. Turnovers are going to happen. TCU had 3 turnovers of their own, and Michigan had 3 total for themselves. But those 2 interceptions that turned into pick sixes really set Michigan behind early. And that was tough for them to get over. I mean, that's just the facts of the game, though. Like, you can't get better if you don't look at your mistakes and try to correct them. And while JJ McCarthy has done so many great things this year, unfortunately, those 2 were huge at a critical time. And so he bounced back. He performed outstanding after that. And credit to him. He has a great mentality when it comes to those things. And he kept his head on straight. This is his first starting season. He's still a young quarterback. He was in the college football playoff. And that is what he was able to do with the offense. When the coaching staff didn't set him up for success, honestly, outstanding in my opinion. But again, those 2 pick sixes were devastating to Michigan's loss that afternoon. So just talking about turnovers, the last and final point that I want to talk about that really contributed to Michigan's loss was the Michigan defense. Honestly, I was absolutely shocked when TCU was able to score so many points. Obviously, it's a little bit easier for them when 14 of those points come from their defense getting 2 pick sixes. But still, even if you take those 14 points away, this team still scored 37 other points. So 51 total points. 51 total points. The most points this defense had allowed any other team to score in a game was 27. 51 total points. 37 if you don't count the pick sixes. That's 10 more points than they had allowed all season. 51 total points. I did not imagine it going down like that. So really, it was unfortunate that the defense let that happen in this college football playoff game because that really hurt this team. Now, again, there's still credit to be given because they did come up with some big turnovers and they did help the team out. They had some important stops to keep Michigan in the game, but then in crucial moments, they still wound up making mistakes and still let points get scored, which let TCU stay well ahead of Michigan. It was unfortunate, but I mean, you got to look at it in the mirror, and that is what you see, where it's just like this defense that was only allowing an average of 15.7 points in conference games goes into the college football playoff and lets their opponent put up 51 points. 51 total points. TCU, who only scored more than 51 points 3 other times this season. And those were not against great defenses. So for Michigan having played so well, just such a terrible time for that to wind up happening. And such a bummer for it to be the end of their season that way. At one point, I honestly was wondering if I was watching the Ohio State defense with the crazy plays that the defense was letting up. 76 yards? 76 yards? That looked like Donovan Edwards running in Columbus. And then I was wondering, too, if we time travel back to 2016 and we had hired Don Brown again with all the crazy opportunities that TCU was able to just throw the ball around and run up and down the field. It was not good, man. It was just, So just for me to reiterate, there's still good things to take away from the defense. There are still good things to take away from J.J. McCarthy's performance. I mean, honestly, there were so many people who were writing them off, even at halftime. But I just knew there's plenty of time on the clock. We have not seen this team in this position before. We don't know if they can or can't do this. And they got it back to 3 points with time left in the fourth quarter. Like, they got there. They were this close to doing something there at the end. So credit to them for that. Good things still for the defense and good things for J.J. McCarthy and the offense. But man, the coaching staff, some poor decisions. They did not set this team up for success. And it was just so unfortunate for the season to end this way. But I can't be mad. I know everybody has their own reactions, but I'm not mad. I mean, this is the best season of Michigan football that I have seen since becoming a fan. Last year was amazing too. So much potential and upswing for this team. I know there are a lot of question marks surrounding the team and the program right now. Might talk about that in a future video. We'll see. But just so many great things. And the team did such a great job. I am still absolutely disappointed in how it ended. I mean, that's how sports go. But here we are finding ourselves at the end of everything. The season is done, and we are waiting once again for September to roll around to start it all over again. I do want to thank you all for hanging out and watching these video episodes this year. Previously, we were an audio podcast, and this is the first year with the video content. So thanks everybody for hanging out, and thank you and welcome newcomers. I will still be doing some content during the off season. It will not be to the same weekly capacity as it is during the regular season. If some of you decide not to drop by again until football kicks off next season, thanks for hanging out. I hope you all have a great off season. And as always, until next time, go blue.